Hello, I'm Philip Muggleston, and in this series of videos we're covering the predictive capabilities native to SAP HANA. The Predictive Analysis Library, or PAL, allows developers to embed data mining predictive scenarios into their own applications. The Predictive Analysis Library has over 20 different algorithms, and this includes association analysis for looking at relationships, clustering for grouping, classification including regression, time series for forecasting, detection of outliers, and data preparation. In this first video, we're going to be getting started with the Predictive Analysis Library. We'll go through the prerequisites to make sure that the capabilities are available to you. The first thing I'm going to show you is where to find the documentation. So we'll open a web browser and go, as we all know, to help.sap.com/HANA_appliance, which is the main area for our HANA documentation. Go to the developer area, development information, and we'll see near the bottom of this list we have a document for the SAP HANA Predictive Analysis Library. It's our reference guide. We can just open it up here. This will effectively be your Bible as you're working with the Predictive Analysis Library. It's a very comprehensive manual that contains all the information you need to know for the different algorithms that are available. So you can see there are some getting started information, and then for all of the 20 plus different Predictive Analysis Library functions and algorithms, you can find the details, and we'll see these in later videos. But for this video, we're going to focus on getting started and looking at the prerequisites. Now, the first thing we're going to do is to go into HANA Studio, and in fact the Predictive Analysis Library from SPS 5 of SAP HANA is part of the AFL, or Application Function Library. Now this is a separate component to HANA. It comes with HANA, but it needs to be installed explicitly. It's not something that's installed typically by default. So the first thing is to check whether the AFL itself has been installed. And a simple way to do that, in fact, is to go to connect to your HANA server from Studio, and to go and to look in your catalog and to check on the security side the roles. And if you see roles that begin with AFL__sys_AFL, and we see here is one in particular which refers to the PAL, AFL PAL. If you see roles like that, then it means the AFL has been installed. If you don't see roles like this, I suggest you contact your HANA administrator to ensure that the AFL gets installed on the HANA server. That install is beyond the scope of this particular video. So assuming that you've got the AFL in principle available, we do need to check a few other prerequisites to make sure that you're able to use the Predictive Analysis Library. Now the first one is we need to check whether a specific Predictive Analysis Library generation procedure is actually installed on the system. So if we go to the System schema and look at procedures, we are looking for a procedure called the AFL_wrapper_generator. And you can see here it does not exist. Now in fact with SPS 5 this procedure is not persistent, in that each time you restart the HANA server you need to recreate this procedure, and this procedure is used when you're defining different predictive algorithms. It's not actually used at runtime when people are running the applications, it's used during the definition process. So what we're going to need to do in this case is to make that procedure. Now in fact the documentation does provide information here in AFL how to actually create this, how to generate the wrapper procedure, and in fact it points you to where you will find this AFL_wrapper_generator SQL script file. However, as this is something you need to do each time the HANA server is restarted, what might make sense is to do this from HANA Studio. So that's what I'm going to do here. So the first thing I need to do is to get this wrapper generator SQL script file and open it up within Studio. Now that SQL script file is sitting on the HANA server itself, not where I'm running Studio from. So what I'm going to do is call my friendly neighborhood FTP program, which in this case I'm using FileZilla, and I'm going to connect to my HANA server as the root user, and I'm going to now navigate through to what it said in the documentation to find this file and transfer it over to Studio. So I need to look at the user, so USR library, there we go. I then need to look at SAP, and then I'm going to look at HDB, and then our instance in this case is instance 00, so I will go to HDB 00, HDB being the code we're using for our HANA server, and then within there we have a library called exe. So we go and look in exe. Okay, and within exe we have a folder called plugins. So we go to the plugins folder. We see there is a folder within there of AFL. And if we get to that folder, finally we get the AFL underscore wrapper underscore generator SQL file. So I'm going to move that. I think I'm going to put that into my documents on my Studio client. So I'm just going to move that over to my documents folder. Let's drop that over. So now we've got that locally on the client, so we can close FileZilla. And the next step is that we would need to actually run that. So if you go back into Studio, and for our system we open up a SQL window, so we can run the SQL script. In fact, we can open the file. If we navigate to our documents, we will see that we do now have an AFL underscore wrapper generator SQL file, which we can now connect to the database, and we can run this. Now, there are a couple of drop statements within this SQL script, one for a type, another one for the procedure itself, and it's quite likely that the first time you run this, when it doesn't exist, the drop statements will fail. That's normal because the procedure doesn't already exist. But you can see that the type and the procedure have both now been created. So remember, this is something you may need to redo each time the HANA server is restarted. So that's why it makes sense to come and do this from HANA Studio. The next thing we need to do is now to verify that the scripts that we will produce with the predictive analysis library can be run. So we need to check that the script server is active on the HANA instance. So here we can go as system user, and we go to the configuration tab, and within there we have the daemon.ini, and within daemon we have the script server area. And what we need to make sure is that the instance value for the script server is set to 1 or true. At the moment the script server is inactive. So if we double click, we can now change that value to 1 and save. And we don't need to restart the HANA server in order to do that. That script server value is now set up, and it will be automatically set to 1 next time the server is restarted as well. So now we've covered the prerequisites to allow us to be able to use the predictive analysis library. In the upcoming videos, we're going to see a little bit more about how the predictive analysis library works, and we'll see some of the algorithms in action.